Welcome to Paranormal Almanac with your host, Kurt Sandvik.
And on this week's edition of Paranormal Almanac, let's talk all things UFOs. Don't turn it off now. If you don't like UFOs, if you don't think UFOs exist, wait, hold on, listen just for a little bit. Give me a chance is what I'm saying. I get it. Not everybody believes in UFOs. That's totally fine. But just hold on, okay? Please? But first, as always, we got shout-outs. I want to get right on into it. This is going to be a long episode, everybody. So for the ones that like long Paranormal Almanac episodes, this one's for you. For the ones that don't like long paranormal episodes, put it on double speed, and it'll be about the episode length that you are used to. I don't know. I can only help you so much. Shout-outs going out to Naughty Innuendo, Jen, Danny Darkcipher, from Australia, which is good because the Danny Darkcipher that's not from Australia, nope, don't like it. But the Danny Darkcipher from Australia, that's a pretty cool guy. Shout-outs to Sarah Jane, Angie, Lisa Cervantes, Curious Hedgehog, the best kinds of hedgehogs other than the Sonics, but the ugly Sonics. That's the hedgehog that is my personal favorite, is the ugly Sonic the Hedgehog. Remember that one when they did the trailer, the movie? And he had, like, human teeth and really shitty eyes. That creepy fucking thing. But, close second, Curious Hedgehog. Diana, Mr. J, George Berg, Casey the Pitbull. Do I have an aw? No. I don't have an. We need an aw for the dogs in this list. Deb B, Corey, GC, Tracy, hey howdy hi, Newt MacGyver, getting MacGyver on it. B Melty, not today. It's actually pretty cool out. B Melty, Avril, Loch Ness, not a monster. Stacy, Leviathan, Stygian, hey howdy hi. Johnny the Pommy, hey howdy hi. JT, hey howdy hi, all the way from America to, that's like 2 people on the other side of the world that have already said hi to, and this episode just started. JT, Doogie Whore, Mike G, Tracy B, Jeff Lightfoot, hey howdy hi, Richard, Alec, Karen, Duran, Lori, Rebecca, Ann, Stephen Scher, hey howdy hi, and thank you so much for the card. You guys are the best. Jane Ann, Jennifer, Heather G, your friendly neighborhood skinwalker, Zuzus, what's that? What's it? Nico Share the Mouse, the other half of the thank you so much for the card. So sweet. Andrew, Mark and Tina, or I should say letter, not card. Mark and Tina, Tortuga, JB, Andy, Virginia Mailman, Tony, the Magician. I was trying to, if you can't see my hands, but I did like magician hands while I said your name. You gotta, the visual really sold that magician. Just imagine like almost like jazz magician, like I'm showing you at the end of a trick. By the way, I've got a friend that's sent me a bunch of like how-tos on how to do magic tricks, because I always wanted to be a magician. I think magicians are cool as hell. Magic Castle, one of my favorite places. I would love to go there again. And he sent me this book, and I was like, oh, it's just, tricking people. Like, I understood. I didn't think magic's real. Hold on. I don't think that magic's real, but like when you learn how a trick that you've seen a million times is done, you're just like, oh, well, yeah, I was a fucking idiot because you did this thing, and then I looked over here, but I should have been looking over here. It's just right there. It didn't disappear. Anyhow, Vicky, Crow, Libido Works, Isabel, Jen, Tracy B, Kick-Ass Magic, Robot Webcomic, Sandy, Paige, Couch, Scott, Andrea, Melody, Vanessa, If I Was the Devil, Elizabeth, Sherry, hey howdy hi. Sherry, your invitation is still open to come to the Humarama Lounge, which is the name of my tiki bar. The Humarama Lounge, it means rum stitch bar. Or actually stitch rum bar, or stitch rum lounge, technically. It's Sherry. Invitation's open. Art Muffin. The birthday boy, Tim. Nope. There we go. Tim, hey, howdy, hi, and a happy birthday. I can't believe I missed your birthday on your birthday, but you know what? You're getting a special shout out right now. East Clintwood. Kenneth. East Clintwood. I just watched The Good, Bad, the Ugly again for the billionth time the other day. That movie holds up. What a fantastic movie. Kenneth, Alexandra, Zozo the Demon. That's just me having fun. Zozo's the Demon, Hayden, Cindy, Ashley, Robin, Lauren, Russell, Isabel, Audra, Dorian, hey, howdy, hi, buddy, Cindy, Paula, Jerry, Jeff T, hey, howdy, hi, Lawrence, the Lauren Strawn, Veronica, Autumn, Carolyn, and Nash, that's a hey, howdy, hi to the Lauren Strawn, Nanashi, Todd, Jamie, and Elijah Hendrickson, Dan, Laura Pitts, and the one, the only, the amazing, the Gamer Fan. Now, reminder for all you patrons, you are all entered in. I decided on October 1st, I'm going to do the drawing. You're all entered into a free shirt of your choice just for being a patron. So you're already in. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything special. I had a couple of people say, wait, I want to get in on this. How do I get in on this? Because I announced it the other week. You're already in. You don't have to do anything. That's just being a patron. And then I got 2 special shout outs, as always, to my boy Stitch and to Joe Teague. Alrighty. Oh, and of course I get a text as soon as I start going. Alrighty. There's a helicopter outside my apartment that I really hope you guys can't hear. It's like one of those police helicopters. They're looking for somebody. Who could it be? It's not me, I swear. I didn't do anything. At least, I don't think so. Maybe it's because I'm doing an entire UFO episode that I'm finally getting the black helicopters around me, but I don't think so. Hold on, my microphone stand. I made the mistake of changing because I'm still trying to figure out the apartment. So, I moved stuff around and I was like, I think I like this one better and this display better, or this desk and set up better. And I can't get comfortable with my microphone stand now. Let's see. All right, I think that's good. This sounds good. I hope it sounds good. I know. I'm just gonna tighten that. There we go. All right. See, there we go. Now we're cooking with butter. Is that the phrase? I don't know. Cooking with gas. What do people say when they're cooking? I don't know. I don't cook very much. But there's a lot to get to. Like I said, this is going to be a long episode. This episode is about UFOs, but it's not me telling you, well, it is me telling you UFO stuff. I think it would be weird to do a UFO episode without saying that. But I really want it to be for people on the fence about UFOs. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. Let's get into paranormal news, because like I said, there's a lot to get to.
Have you ever seen Bigfoot riding on the back of Nessie while being sucked up into the sky by a UFO?
Yes, I have, Buzz.
The soundtrack of a choir of ghost cats?
Yes, I have,
being
Buzz.
led by a black-eyed child?
Yes.
Is this story true?
Yes.
There's only one place you're going to find out.
Oh, that's true.
Get all my news from paranormal news. Listen carefully for the clues. The stories are strange and bizarre. It makes you wonder just who we are. This is paranormal news. Paranormal news. There's something in the shadows. Take it away, Kurt.
Thank you, Buzz. Seriously, thank you, Buzz. You're the best. Alrighty, the first story in paranormal news is a story that everybody sent me, and rightfully so. This is a big one. The real-life conjuring home. Hi, Rum. How are you? You can come up here, sweetheart. Come here. You're fine. Come on up. Come up. Hey, sweetheart. How's my girl? The real-life conjuring house. The one that inspired the Sinister movie series, it says, is to be sold in a foreclosure auction on Halloween. Now, I was actually made privy of this a while ago, but I was asked not to mention it by the owner of the Conjuring House. But Word is out, so I'm going to talk about it. The Rhode Island home that inspired the Conjuring movie franchise is set to go under the hammer in a foreclosure auction that is slated to take place on Halloween. The 8.5-acre property with a 3-bedroom farmhouse in Harrisville will go up on the block at 11 a.m. on October 31st. I would love to say, and I'm going to be bidding on it. I mean, who knows? Maybe I can put the first bid in, and then I'll be immediately outbid, and I can't afford anything else. But would I bid in? Would I buy it? Yeah, I would. Does that house need a shit ton of work? Yeah, it does. What would I do with it? Would I live there? Oh, yeah, I probably would. I wouldn't mind living there. But I would make it open to paranormal investigations in a safe and secure and not scammy way. Not saying anything about the previous owners, but that would be what my intention would be. It is a very pretty house, 8.5-acre property. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I will be online at 11 a.m. on Halloween to see what the starting bid is. And if it's cheap enough, yeah, I'd bid on it. At least, like I said, I'd at least put in a bid so I can say, yeah, I bid on it. So the next time that I did an episode, I'd tell you guys, yeah, I bid on it. I didn't win, but I bid on it. Or who knows? You know what? Maybe, just maybe, I'm holding right now, you can't see it, in my hand, lotto tickets. Maybe I'm going to win the lotto, and then, yeah, I'll buy it. And then that'll be a little paranormal news, paranormal almanac hangout. And everybody can be, if you're a paramaniac, you can come to the Conjuring House. Y'all know what the Conjuring House is. I don't have to continue on with that news story. You get the idea. It's going up for auction. I think that is very cool. Hold on a second, Rum. You can come up here in just a second. All right, come back up. Come on up. Come here. There you go. How's my girl? How's my favorite girl in the world? Up next in paranormal news, I didn't read this one. I just got to the headline, and then I went, yeah, I'm going to save this one for paranormal news because, well, the headline is, Joe Rogan left speechless because of new Atlantis evidence that pinpoints the lost city's location. Yeah, archaeologists say that his team has finally discovered the lost city of Atlantis, and they unveiled compelling evidence. Joe Rogan was left speechless, no comment, was left speechless when his guests discussed the possible discovery of the lost city of Atlantis. Can you have more ads on this website? Good Lord. Independent researcher Ben Van Kerkwyk was a recent guest on the Joe Rogan podcast where he discussed a discovery off the coast of Spain that could be Atlantis. There's a guy named Michael Donnellan, and he thinks he's found at least, if not Atlantis, a part of Atlantis off the coast of Spain, and they 100% found some shit in the waters, he said. Wow, was the response from Joe Rogan. There's an upcoming documentary called Atlantica that reveals massive linear structures and enormous concentric circular walls littering the seafloor. Donnellan, an independent archaeologist, said that Plato's writings perfectly match their findings of ruins. These discoveries include underwater structures and sediment-covered sites indicating sudden destruction, aligned with Plato's accounts of climate, societal structure, and ancient mythologies, providing a comprehensive context for their claims. Good Lord, that's a sentence. All those details align perfectly with the religion we're studying as our investigators reflect Plato's text with extraordinary precision, truly to a perfect degree. Man, this guy likes to talk. Yeah, it's cool. I hope he did. I would love to see them actually discover Atlantis finally. All righty, since we got a lot to get to, I'm going to keep on keeping on here. Let's move on to the next one in paranormal news. It is Kansas Paranormal Group to investigate historic cemetery. We're going over to Topeka, Kansas, where the Ghost Light Paranormal is going to be conducting an investigation of Topeka Cemetery on September 20th, and it's open to the public. I almost put this in the paranormal promotions, but I wanted to put it in paranormal news where I found it. GOP was founded by 3 friends in February, that's recent, to investigate how an employee at a theater was injured in a strange accident. They allegedly found multiple spirits associated with the almost 100-year-old building. Their upcoming event is a public tour and ghost hunt at Topeka Cemetery. All proceeds go to benefit the cemetery, and the event provides the public an opportunity to get hands-on during a real ghost investigation. We've never hunted at Topeka Cemetery. We know we could put a good benefit together for the cemetery, and we could get our name out there as well. The event will also be a good opportunity for those interested in the paranormal to participate in a ghost hunt. I think that's cool. So if you're in the Topeka, Kansas area on, September 20th? Yeah, there you go. Go check that out. Up next in paranormal news, locked up abroad, a mystery Nessie-like creature filmed lurking in a foreign river. Is Nessie on vacation? Well, experts are searching for answers after a mystery critter was spotted in the Thames River. That's right, the Thames, the one I want to go mudlarking in the UK. They said it was a bit of a shock. Ryan Linehan, 21, told Penn News of the so-called Loch Ness monster, not a monster. He reportedly been walking with his parents near Old Windsor Loch in Berkshire when he caught the creature swimming in the drink. We were just passing by, and it was actually the loch keeper that said to keep an eye out for what he thought was a seal. My son just caught it as it bobbed up, but that was the best shot we could get it. And there is a photo of it, and it looks like a seal. Yeah. It looks like a seal. All righty, up next in paranormal news. Still cool. I still want to see a seal in the Thames. Bigfoot appears to be caught on trail cam while standing in a creek in Missouri. That's right. A trail camera in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, caught a large dark figure standing in a creek, which the owner of said camera believes is a Bigfoot. No pop-up for you, thank you. Is this the evidence we've been looking for? Well, that's yet to be seen. The picture of a large figure standing in the creek was taken in the middle of the day and definitely doesn't appear to be some sort of shadow. Is it a bear or anything other than the elusive Bigfoot? I don't know. Show me the photo. He showed his wife the picture on the motion detecting camera that had taken and alerted him on his phone. She agreed it was something huge but couldn't make out what it was. He checked the live feed, but by the time he did, whatever had been standing in the creek was gone. Then he went back to work and decided to investigate the area after work. He and his brother went out to the spot and started looking for evidence of a Bigfoot. They came up empty. There were no footprints. Whatever it was evidently stayed in the creek the entire time. I had my brother stand where the creature was standing and tried to replicate the image of him, at which point we realized the creature was several feet taller than my brother, who's 6 feet tall. All right, can I see the damn photo, please? Really? What a terrible... Just show the photo. There's... Oh, here we go. See side-by-side images. Yeah, no, that's actually something quite big. There's a side-by-side image of the Bigfoot on the left and the brother on the right in the exact same location. Yeah, that's something significantly bigger. All right, I'll throw that one in the Facebook fan page because that one is cool. Ooh, hot rod, hot, stupid, cheesy Fast and the Furious car revving its engine right outside my window. That helps for a recording. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. Up next in paranormal news, Columbia City Haunted Jail nominated by USA Today for the best haunted attraction in America. That's right, we're getting into Halloween season. Owner of the haunted jail has been scaring people in 21 counties for years, and it's been nominated the best haunted attraction in America. So if you happen to be anywhere near Columbia City, Indiana, I'd say head on over to the Columbia City Jail because it's supposed to be the best haunted one. All righty, up next in paranormal news, let's talk about the congressional UFO hearing. Oh, not right now because I'm going to start the episode with a recap. Don't worry. I know you guys were all expecting it to be in paranormal news, but no, it's actually going to be the beginning of the actual episode. But I'm not done with paranormal news yet. I'm getting to the end of it. But first, pastors convinced Jesus will return in days as ancient biblical promise hints at an imminent rapture. That's right. It's rapture time. I hope you guys got your stuff together. Shut up. Hope you guys got your stuff together. All your look, if you had anything you wanted to do, anyone you wanted to make love to, I don't know, whatever your plans were, do it before September 23rd. Because, again, it's just another doomsday. We got another one. Claims by social media users, as well as respected pastors and rabbis, say the rapture will begin on September 23rd, marking the second coming of Jesus and Judgment Day for non-believers. This year, September 23rd, falls during the Jewish Feast of Trumpets, also known as Rosh Hashanah. But some Christians have tied the holiday to the prophecy that Jesus will return to earth with, quote, the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet call of God. So there you go. Pastor Joshua Mekahine, a South African preacher, claimed Jesus appeared to him in a private divine vision and said he'd return during the Feast of Trumpets. He said, the rapture is upon us, whether you are ready or not. I saw Jesus sitting on his throne, and I could hear him very loud and clear saying, I am coming soon. He said to me on the 23rd and the 24th of September, 2025, I will come back to earth. Yeah, there you go. So we got a rapture to look forward to in what, like 12 days? I'm telling you right now, I was going to announce it later, but now's a good enough time as any. I plan on I'm taking a week off for personal reasons. I got to take a week off from the show. Because of that, I don't have enough time to get the 300th started recording. So I doubt the 300th will record before the 23rd or the 24th of September. But if I can, I promise I will get out as much of the 300th as possible before the rapture. That you have my word on that. Up next in paranormal news, it's a house I've talked about before. It is a house that I've been obsessed with for years, and it's a house that's up for sale. It is literally my dream house. It was built in the mid-century, so it has that mid-century vibe that I absolutely love. It's got a ton of woodwork that I absolutely love. But more importantly, it is insanely cool. It is Jackie Gleason's UFO house. It is back up for sale. 196 Furnace Dock Road in Cortlandt Manor, New York for $5.5 million. I am so close to having $5.5 million to put down on this. I only need $5.5 million more dollars, and then I'll have it all. This house is gorgeous. It is one of the coolest, most insane houses. I'll actually be talking about it in just a little bit. But if you have a chance, go to Zillow, 196 Furnace Dock Road, Cortlandt Manor, New York, 10567. It is the most beautiful house. If you're looking at the Zillow page, my favorite photo is photo 10. It is of they call it the dance floor. It's where the staircase is coming down. It is the most beautiful woodwork ever. Jackie Gleason, who is a insane UFO nut. I mean, this guy had an insane UFO library. Again, I talked about it forever ago. I think it was like episode 9, and I'll be talking about it tonight on this episode in just a little bit. But Jackie Gleason's UFO house. The main house is called the Mothership. The guest house is called the Scout Ship. And they look like UFOs. It is so fucking cool. Alrighty, paranormal promotion time. I don't have the music ready, but that's okay. I'm just going to cruise through them real quick because, again, I'm already 25 minutes into this episode. The first one is Haunted Cleveland Restaurant hosts Halloween Ghost Tour 2025. If you're in Cleveland, Ohio, Der Braumeister, the third-generation German restaurant on Cleveland's west side, is haunted. Be among the first to meet the spirits while drinking spirits at Der Brau's Haunted Halloween Tour from 9 p.m. to midnight on Saturday, October 4th. Built in 1929, restaurant's been through 2 families and several generations of business owners. Current and previous employees have stories of ghostly encounters. Most recently, some have felt the presence of owner Jen Wirtz's late Opa and seen other apparitions. So again, if you're in the area, I recommend going there because it's an actual haunted location, and they're doing a little drink thing for, booze and paranormal investigation. Nothing better. Up next, Whitehall seeking Bigfoot lovers for annual Sasquatch Festival. That's right, Whitehall, New York, calling all cryptid lovers. Saturday, September 27th is Sasquatch Festival in, I'm going to get this wrong, Skenesboro Park. I know I got that wrong. Look, if you're in Whitehall, New York, look up Sasquatch Festival. It's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, September 27th. And finally, the Poltergeist House is available for bookings. That's right, the Poltergeist House where they filmed the movie. I talked about it forever and ever and ever ago. I was supposed to go there. It didn't work out, but that's okay. You can go there. The original Poltergeist House. Go to poltergeisthouse.com/bookings, and you can spend the night there. Now, I will say it's $800 a night, so bring some friends. You're gonna, it's a little bit pricey, but bring a couple of friends. There's your first chance. Do I think the Poltergeist House is haunted? No, I do not. Have I watched a bunch of TikTok videos and YouTube videos of people swearing that they're talking to the little girl that died, that was, the actress that was in Poltergeist? No. I watched them. No, I don't believe them at all. Not even remotely. I don't think it's a haunted location, but I think it's a very, very, very cool, very cool. They did this house up exactly like it looks in the Poltergeist movie, the movie that scared the hell out of me as a kid. If I had an extra $800 to drop, I would be going there in a heartbeat. Sean and I and a couple other friends, we would be going there and having fun. But unfortunately, I don't have that. But I do want to promote them because they are very nice people. I've chatted with them numerous times. It's been seen on Ghost Adventures. Go check it out. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Oh, merch. Go on over to Dasher Leap. I don't know. Listen to an older episode. I talk about the merch. There's tons of new merch, though. Tons. I keep adding more and more merch. So please take a look. I'm very proud at a lot of the designs. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. That's good drink. We are back. Before I get into this very long, buckle up, baby, very long episode about UFOs, I got to tell you about this drink that I made specifically for this episode that I've been dying to drink, that I've been sneaking drinks as much as I could during Paranormal News. I want to tie in a drink to the episodes as much as I can. I don't know if I can guarantee every episode. There is definitely going to be one for the 300th, but as much as I absolutely can. It's called the UFO cocktail. I did not make it up. It's a classic tiki drink. Don't be surprised if I make a YouTube or TikTok video at my tiki bar showing you how to make it now that I got the tiki bar set up pretty well. It's not 100%, but I think it's about as good as it's going to be at this location. It's fun. If you're in the area, please come and check it out. I'm thoroughly enjoying my tiki bar and having friends over. But this UFO cocktail, let me tell you how to make it. It is really good, by the way. You need 1 ounce of white overproof Jamaican rum, 1 ounce Demerara rum, 3/4 ounce orange curacao, 1/2 ounce of falernum, 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of pineapple juice, 1/2 ounce of orgeat, 1/2 ounce of mango syrup. And that's what gave this drink quite a different flavor that I really liked. And 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Basically, throw it all in the shaker, shake it up, strain it into your favorite tiki mug. And, yeah, that's right. I'm drinking on this episode. Let's see what happens. I'll put that recipe in the Facebook fan page as well. But like I said, it'll probably also be a YouTube and a TikTok video that I film up at my tiki bar because I got it all set up. Why the hell not? But let's get into this episode. This week, I figured let's talk about UFOs. But this one is for you skeptics. I want you to hear everything I'm about to present. And then I want you to decide, do you still not believe in UFOs or aliens or any of this nonsense? Because there's a lot of fans out there that say, I like the UFO episodes, but it's not my thing. I don't believe in UFOs. So, okay, that's fine. Believe in what you want. That's really important to being a paramaniac. But listen to this episode. And did the evidence sway you? But, like I hinted in Paranormal News, let's start the evidence with this week's evidence. That's right. This week, there was a congressional hearing on Tuesday, September 9th. Politicians heard from various witnesses. Military veteran Jerry Nuccitelli, Dylan Bordland, George Knapp, Chief Wiggum, I can't think of the guy's real name. It's like Whittenham or something like that. I don't have his name in front of me. I'm sure I got it written down later. Don't worry. But it's all I could think of. Wiggins. There we go. All I could think of was Chief Wiggum the entire time. And some of the stuff they presented was insanely incredible. Especially the video that I'm sure you have all seen. If you haven't, I'm going to throw it in the Facebook fan page. I'll send it to you if you email me at paranormalalmanac@gmail.com. This video is, again, the infrared kind of like that Tic Tac or gimbal video that I'm sure you've seen a billion times from the Nimitz encounter. So it's infrared, whatever technology that is, of that same kind of like white Tic Tac booking across above the ocean. This was in Yemen, so whatever ocean or body of waters near Yemen, I don't know. I was told there wouldn't be any geography on this episode. And it was being tracked by a drone. A second drone had a Hellfire missile on it, and it shot the Hellfire missile at this UAP, and it did nothing. Let me go into it. Since 1969, the position of our military has been that UFOs pose no threat to national security and are not worthy of further study, is what George Knapp said. This dismissive attitude is directly at odds with what was revealed in documents, reports, and internal memos that he presented at this House Oversight Committee about UFO transparency and whistleblower protection. This video, it showed, here we go, an MQ-9 drone tracking this UAP, like I said, as another MK-9 drone launched a Hellfire missile at it. I'll talk about a Hellfire missile in just a minute. The missile strikes the orb, but instead of destroying it, the missile appears to bounce right off of it or break up into 3 or 4 pieces. It depends on who you get your info from. I personally think that it broke up. It didn't explode, it broke up, and that UAP kept on going. They said, that's a Hellfire missile smacking into a UFO, and it just bounced right off, and it kept going. That's George Knapp said. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kinds of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see. So there's more of these videos out there, and I'm guessing way better ones out there. He said lawmakers and witnesses stressed that no known U.S. technology could withstand a Hellfire missile strike. Representative Anna Paulina Luna from Florida said, "Are you aware of anything in the U.S. arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this and do whatever blob thing it did, then keep going?" She asked each witness. Nuccitelli and Wiggins said that no U.S. technology is capable of surviving such a strike. That is huge news. That is insanely huge disclosure news. No U.S. technology is capable of surviving a Hellfire missile strike. So let's talk a little bit about it. The AGM-114 Hellfire. It's an American missile developed for anti-armor use. It was later developed for precision drone strikes against other target types, especially high-value targets. They are so deadly that the British Parliament, Liberal Democrat politician Nick Harvey, is what it says, argued that Parliament must be reassured these are a weapon of last resort. Let me read that again. They're so deadly that the British Parliament said they must be reassured these are a weapon of last resort. Now, these Hellfire missiles have been used dozens of times to obliterate terrorists and terrorist organizations throughout the 2000s. I'm not going to read all of those to you. But May 24th, 2001, after a civilian Cessna 152 aircraft entered Israeli airspace from Lebanon with unknown intentions, refusing to answer or comply with ATC repeated warnings to turn back, an Israeli Air Force Apache helicopter fired a Hellfire missile at the Cessna, resulting in complete disintegration. And I know what you're probably thinking, skeptics. Well, yeah, it's a Cessna. It's not going to withstand a missile, but maybe we have something that has armor on it, like some military plane or helicopter that is designed to take a hit. Not from a hellfire. It would cause complete disintegration. They are designed to target heavily armored vehicles, heavily armored military craft and helicopters, heavily armored drones, tanks, armored personnel carriers. It is also capable of striking fortifications and bunkers. This is a bunker buster missile that bounced off without exploding an unknown aircraft, a UFO. The chief reporter of an investigation unit at KLAS TV was asked by Congressman Eric Burleson, a Missouri Republican, to describe what he saw in the video. The video took place on October 30th, 2024. He replied, "That's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and bouncing right off, and it kept going." George Knapp added that the footage was just one of a whole bank of UAP videos that, again, Congress has not been allowed to see. After watching the video, again, they asked, Luna asked whether the other witnesses, whether the video frightened them. Nuccitelli, Borland, and Wiggins all replied yes. And that is Navy member Alexandra Wiggins. I found his name. I knew I had it written down somewhere. They all answered yes. They were frightened by that video. Two of the three testifiers, that's Nuccitelli and Wiggins, also claimed that the House Oversight Subcommittee that no U.S. technology, again, would be capable of surviving such a strike. None. Period. This is a huge revelation. If you want the biggest piece of disclosure in years, that's it. This video is it. This is not a weather balloon. There are so many people that saw the Nimitz video, the Tic Tac video, the gimbal video, the Go Fast video, and went, well, that's just the balloon floating in the wind. It just looks like it's going fast because the planes that are chasing it are going fast. No. A Hellfire missile will not bounce off a weather balloon. It will not bounce off a spy balloon. It won't fucking bounce off helicopters, planes, drones. It will destroy them, complete disintegration. If the U.S. is shooting at UAPs, that is your proof that it's not secret U.S. technology. Again, everybody was like, oh, well, the gimbal and the Go Fast and the Tic Tac videos. That's just what we have that we don't know about yet. The U.S. military has that we don't know about yet. That's the next generation of plane or technology or drone. No, the U.S. shot at this UAP. That is proof that it is not secret U.S. technology. Also, this video confirms that it requires a military-grade mobile sensor platform, like on this drone, that can track and record the UAPs to get good quality video. And even it loses track of the UAP again and again because the things are so fast and so maneuverable. This, to me, is 100% proof that just because we all have cameras in our pocket now, we can't get good quality UFO videos. Neil deGrasse Tyson is quick to point that one out. Well, we're all walking around with cameras in our pockets, yet all the videos are blurry. Well, guess what? This military-grade mobile sensor platform on a drone has trouble keeping track of and making video of UAPs because of how fast and maneuverable and whatever they do to the surrounding atmosphere around them. It's very weird. I personally think that once that Hellfire missile hit it, I think it split up. I think the Hellfire missile split up. And you can see as the UAP is still going to the left as fast as it was, that pieces of that Hellfire start to go with it in that whatever bubble that it makes to fly. Whatever space bubble it makes. It is insane. Look, you want another piece of why we can't get good quality UFO videos? In my mind, Ever tried taking a picture of a gorgeous moon? Last week there was like, I don't know, like the blood moon or the strawberry moon. There's so many goddamn colored moons now. I don't remember that as a kid. Like every month go, you got to go outside because it's right now it's the raspberry beret moon. You want a photo of the raspberry beret moon, don't you, Kurt? So you ever tried taking a good photo of one of these gorgeous moons? It looks so good in the sky. And I'm like, well, I got to take a photo of this and share it on my Facebook page. And it looks like a Pac-Man dot. It is the worst fucking photo ever. But yet, we're expected to get good quality UFO videos from that same technology? No, not happening. All right, sorry. I went off on a tangent there with the Raspberry Beret moon. George Knapp also testified that back in the 1990s, he obtained Soviet documents allegedly indicating a UFO almost triggered World War III. This is not the first time that something like a story like this I'm about to read to you happened. It happened in U.S. nuclear facilities. According to George Knapp, he obtained documents showing that an incident involving UFOs in 1982 almost caused Russia to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, at the U.S. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, the United States, he says. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they appear and disappear, and right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and the Russians couldn't shut them down. He said that the Russian officers began panicking, but the UFOs soon disappeared, the launch control systems went back to normal, the personnel at the time could not figure out what caused the issue, and that they did not blame EMPs or power surges or offer the baloney excuses, this is George Knapp's wording, the baloney excuses the United States has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. Rather, he said they believed it was a message from wherever the UFOs had come from. He said, that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it. Now, I don't mention it on this episode, and I probably should have included it as evidence of UFOs, but I've talked about it on previous episodes about, again, U.S. nuclear bases having this exact same thing, where either they lit up and started the sequence for launching an ICBM, or they shut down the entire base. And then when they saw the UFO overhead, the base shut down and then lit back up when the UFOs flew off. These things have complete control, and thankfully, in my opinion, because I don't think they were going to launch those, I think they were just, again, giving Russians a warning like, hey, we can turn these things on and we can turn these things off whenever we want. Hey, monkeys with the nuclear bombs, how about you stop it? We're all just the dumbest species that happens to be the dominant species on Earth, and we're hell-bent on killing ourselves. Hold on, I need a drink for my UFO. That is a good, very strong, but good cocktail. George Knapp also smuggled out classified Russian documents. He talked about this at this congressional hearing on UAPs. He said the documents, Kurt here, I'm going to say UAPs and UFOs, however I want to word it, a lot. I'm going to mix up that vernacular quite a bit. So if you're one of those people that can only hear UAPs now, I'm very sorry. If you're one of those people that only want to go with the classic UFO, I'm very sorry. Anyhow, George Knapp said the documents and interviews I obtained in my 1993 visit to Moscow showed that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO investigation in world history. The first phase included a standing order to every element of the vast Soviet military empire to fully investigate every UFO sighting, whether it was a craft, an orb, an unusual ball of light, or other kinds of close encounters. The military witnesses were to be interviewed, evidence including photos, drawings, and physical effects were to be gathered, and all of the material was to be forwarded to a single office at the Ministry of Defense. That program lasted a full 10 years, 1978 to 1998, and possibly longer, he says. And then another program grew out of that one dubbed Thread 3, which seemed to be an analysis program that also monitored UFO cases, news reports, and government interest in the U.S. and other Western nations. So they were keeping an eye on us and other allies about what we were doing with UFOs, how we were trying to track and recover UFOs. He said the purpose of these efforts was very simple, as told to me by Colonel Boris Sokolov, who was the head of the MOD program. He said that many thousands of reports were collected during his part of the program for the purpose of figuring out the technology that UFOs displayed, unpredictable movements, the maneuverability, the quick angles, and because UFOs could be seen visually but not on radar, or seen on radar but not visually, if the secrets of these UFOs could be discovered, we would be able to win the competition against our potential enemies in terms of velocity, materials, and visibilities. He said the fighter planes could intercept, but in 3 cases, the fighter planes could intercept the UFOs, but in 3 cases where Sokolov was in charge, where Russian planes fired on UFOs, the Russian planes shut off, went down, and in 2 of the 3 cases, pilots were killed. Let me say that again, because I didn't start that one very well. He said during his term, Sokolov said during his term, fighter planes would be sent out to intercept and shoot down UFOs. But in 3 cases, all 3 planes turned off and crashed. And in 2 of those instances, the pilots died from shooting at UFOs. They were then told, under no certain terms were you to fire upon UFOs. You were to monitor and tail only. He then went on to talk about the fact that the Russians were trying to reverse engineer UFOs. He said that was underway decades ago. Sokolov and his files said it was exactly like what our military was doing, that they were trying to reverse engineer UFOs. Here it is. I'm sorry. It was 40 instances in which Russian fighter planes were sent to intercept unknown craft. And then in 3 of those, the Russian planes fired, 2 of the pilots died. Planes just fell out of the sky. After that, the standing order was changed. When you see a UFO, monitor it or change course and get out. He said there were also dozens of cases in which ground forces fired upon UFOs, but the on-the-ground soldiers say UFOs knocked out car engines along with radar, radio, and communication systems. There were also a few instances... I'm going to take another drink, apparently. Woo! There were also a few incidents, that's the word I'm trying to say. Okay, I've been drinking. I'm just going to say it. In those files in which military personnel were literally frozen. I'm talking immobilized when they tried to shoot down the UFOs. Before they could fire, the soldiers themselves would freeze, literally freeze. They said the Russians have been studying UFOs as far back as Roswell. That's right. We already got to Roswell in this episode. In 1947, Stalin had an interest, and he had tasked his top scientists to find out what had crashed at Roswell. That is good evidence that it wasn't Russian what crashed at Roswell, because for a while there, they were thinking, oh, it was obviously something Russian that crashed. That's why the military came in as quickly as they did. No, right here, evidence. Stalin had an interest to find out what had crashed at Roswell. They eventually told Stalin it wasn't any craft known to exist on Earth. Wasn't American, certainly wasn't Russian. It was no ally craft. For decades after, the official position of the USSR was that UFOs were a propaganda distraction manufactured by the West and discouraged any public interest or investigations. But behind the scenes, they had scientists and intelligence assets trying to find out what these things were and whether the Russians could build their own reverse technology, build their own UFOs. Basically, Russia was doing exactly what we were doing since Roswell. That's it in a nutshell. That's as clear as I can make it. Tell the public one thing and do the exact opposite behind closed doors. George Knapp went on to say, the most disturbing incident I was able to document after reading the files and speaking to Russian military leaders who were part of these classified programs occurred in October of 1982 at a missile base in Ukraine. These missiles were meant to be fired at Western targets, including the U.S., and that's when the UFO appeared over the Ukraine missile base. It was observed for 4 hours. And that's the one I was kind of talking about a little bit. He goes into a little bit more detail. I'm going to skip ahead because I don't want to take an hour talking about just the first topic on here. He said it was a spontaneous illumination of all displays. They tried their best. They could not disengage. World War III was about to begin. Yada, yada, yada. Let me move forward. The full report is included in one of those unreleased papers submitted to DIA and still bottled up there. But we are allowed to publish a brief synopsis which reveals that there is a much larger program than Thread 3, a shadowy group known as Unit 73790, which controlled 3 separate UFO programs, so a much larger effort than anyone has known before. It looks like they're way ahead of us as far as 30 years ago. That is, again, huge. And I love this part. George Knapp said that it almost seems like Arrow, our team about UAPs, was a counterintelligence operation meant to draw in witnesses, disclose what they've seen, and then discredit them, which is huge because that is still happening. People think the stigma for UFOs is gone. It's not. The government is discrediting people left, right, and center, and a whole bunch of new ways online. And Representative Luna said, I'd be happy to send a subpoena to Mr. Kirkpatrick, who heads Arrow. And it was followed by a huge round of applause. People are like, fuck yeah, let's get these people on board and find out, what is Arrow? Are they really trying to help the American public find out what UFOs are? Or are they trying to still discredit it? Arrow is the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. It is supposed to be the office in the United States of the Secretary of Defense that investigates unidentified flying objects and other phenomena, and then report back to the government and to the American people. It's not, sadly, and we all knew that was going to happen when it was, designed. But, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, actually probably a lot later, even if Arrow is trying to discredit people, we are still getting information, we are still getting disclosure from Arrow, mostly by accident or from the Freedom of Information Act. So we are still giving evidence, even though Arrow does seem to be a counterintelligence operation to discredit people. All right, I got to keep going here. Then, Dylan Bordlin's testimony was cool as well. He was the one who only wanted to answer questions in a secured SCIF room. But his answers, even when he said, I'm sorry, I can only answer that in SCIFs, were the most, yes, but it's top secret type of answers on the panel. When they asked him about, does he have any proof or evidence of extraterrestrial life? I can only answer that in a SCIF and only if you are authorized to hear the answer. This guy knew a ton of stuff, and when he said that, it was 100% like, yep, I sure do. I can't talk about it, but now you know that I know about it. Let me jump to this. 1 second. I hope it's the full link. Yes, it is. Here we go. Let's listen to this for a second.
Walking towards the light, towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light, and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell. Gets up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there, and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it took off out over the ocean, was about 15 minutes.
Once again, that is Dylan Bordlin recounting a UFO encounter with a ginormous triangular UFO.
As I begin,
he is a former U.S. Air Force geospatial intelligence specialist. He is the guy, like I said, when he had an answer that he couldn't answer, it was almost better than when he did answer them. It was absolutely incredible. So, yeah, that was this week alone. Skeptics, anything from this week alone that makes you go, because that's what I want. I want things that make you go, on this episode. No? Okay, well then let's focus on UFOs for this entire episode. Let's go back. Nope. Let's go back in history. Is there any one piece of evidence that will make any skeptic a believer? Let's find out together. Yes, we can go back to 1947 to Roswell. But I'm almost an hour into this episode, and I've covered Roswell enough over the years. So if you still think that Roswell was a weather balloon or a spy balloon, please go back and listen to those episodes, because it wasn't. The weather balloon or spy balloon that had mannequins didn't happen for another 10 years after Roswell. The fact that Russia, at that time, what I just read to you, Stalin, at that time, wanted to know what crashed in Roswell, and they found out it was not any known craft by an ally or by a Russian or by an enemy. It was a UFO. It was not a spy balloon. It was not a satellite. It was not some tinfoil piece of crap thing that they tried to take a photo of. Will we ever know what Roswell was? I think we will. I really do. I think that Roswell, the information is slowly going to leak out there, and we'll find out. But for this episode, you know about Roswell. If you're still a skeptic after Roswell and all the evidence that says that everything the government tried to explain it away was wrong and off by 10 years, okay, that's not going to convince you. So let's go to the next big thing in UFO history, Project Blue Book. Again, I've talked enough about it, but I will say there is one piece of Project Blue Book that should be evidence enough for any skeptic. Any skeptic. J. Allen Hynek, the man who was commissioned by the United States to investigate UFOs, the biggest skeptic when he started, ultimately became convinced to the point that he founded the Center for UFO Studies after Project Blue Book came to a close. He was certain it was all going to be debunked. Every Project Blue Book thing they sent him on, it's going to be debunked. But it wasn't. Some were, but some weren't. And what was left made him a 100% believer, and again, he founded the Center for UFO Studies because he became such a believer. This is a man who investigated every big UFO investigation site, thing that happened And he went from skeptic to believer. Still not enough for you? All righty, let's go on to 1969. That's when the Condon Report shut down the reporting mechanism the U.S. Air Force had since 1947 and tried to suggest nothing has come from the study of UFOs in the past 21 years that has added to scientific knowledge. That's what they said publicly. In reality, the actual findings of the Condon Report were that hundreds of cases were described as actual UFOs. That was their wording, not we don't know what they were. These were described as actual UFOs. That means not Venus, not swamp gas, not misidentified planes, not spy planes. No. Unknown technology, UFOs. The Condon Report that told us publicly nothing has ever come from the study of UFOs in 21 years had hundreds of cases that they said, yep, that's a UFO. Let's focus on one case in particular from the Condon Report. It's called the Lakenheath case. It's from Royal Air Force Base, Lakenheath. It's from 1956. I guess we have to go back even farther. 1956. Spoiler, the Condon Report said of the Lakenheath case, the apparently rational, intelligent behavior of the UFO suggests a mechanical device of unknown origin as the most probable explanation of this sighting. That's a spoiler. They ended it saying, mechanical device of unknown origin. All right, I've talked about this one a little bit on a Patreon episode, but I really wanted to dive into this one fully now. Again, we already went back, but I'll do it again. We go back to August 13th, 1956, when the Royal Air Force launched a bunch of aircraft to intercept UFOs because they penetrated the UK's radar shield and were circling, a nuclear-armed American Air Force base in Suffolk. So at 9:30 p.m., a U.S. Air Force radar unit at Royal Air Force Base Bentwater, which was near Ipswich, tracked a UFO on radar 25 to 30 miles east of the base. When it disappeared to the northwest at 4,000 miles per hour, it quickly became apparent to everybody on the base this is not an ordinary aircraft. Elsewhere, a second airman was watching two formations of slowly moving blips on his radar screen at another Royal Air Force base. Then, another UFO comes moving in again at hypersonic speeds, zoomed across the radar scopes, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Second later, airmen in control tower saw, quote, a bright light zip overhead at terrific speeds, but with no sound. A pilot in a C-47 transport aircraft also saw this whatever the hell bright light apparently beneath his aircraft. He said it was traveling east to west at terrific speeds. So Bentwaters called Lakenheath and asked the U.S. Air Force Base to keep a lookout for anything unusual, which, guess what? They found a lot of unusual. Air traffic supervisor Forrest Perkins asked his people to keep a close eye on their radar screens, and within almost instantly, they detected targets, not a target, targets to the southwest. These targets stopped and started in unusual fashion and moved in a northerly direction at speeds of 400 to 600 miles per hour. Similar, they call them echoes, but there were targets on their radar screens, were spotted in the same direction by a second radar at the base, which used a different frequency. So they're seeing him on multiple radar screens at this one base. At this point, Perkins escalated up the chain of command. He alerted the U.S. Air Force what they were seeing, and through them, Royal Air Force Fighter Command, who are responsible for the Air Force defense in the UK, said, something big is happening, something bad is happening, and they were really afraid they were about to be invaded, that something was about to destroy the U.S. nuclear site. This brings it up to around midnight now, when the senior officers at Neatishead on the Norfolk Broads, which was Lieutenant Freddie Wimbledon, He said he checked his radar screen and he was amazed to see something on his radar at 10 to 20,000 feet over the UK. He said this behaved unlike anything he had ever seen before. Kurt here, I'm going to pause at this moment because a lot of skeptics say what he was seeing on his radar at 10,000 to 20,000 feet was actually the first B-2 bomber. Is it a B-2 bomber? Hold on. Let me skip ahead a little bit. Sorry, U-2 spy plane, not B-2 bomber. U-2 spy plane, because a U-2 CIA did have a U-2 spy plane at Lakenheath in the summer of '56 at the time of this UFO incident. So I'm going to pause right there to say a lot of people think that what he was tracking on his radar was probably that U-2 spy plane, and it was the first time it ever flown. They wouldn't have known what it looked like. It would have freaked them out. So let me get back to it. He said it behaved unlike anything he'd ever seen before, something that traveled at tremendous speeds and then stopped. This is why I personally don't think it was that U-2 spy plane, but a lot of skeptics seem to think it was. U-2 spy planes can't stop in midair. They're a plane. They have to keep flying. That's what alarmed him. He immediately set up an interception team crewed by 4 and ordered another 4 airmen to monitor the action. Fighter Command called for a Venom night fighter to launch from battle flight, who were on a 24-hour alert at the Royal Air Force Base Water Beach. They knew that a senior officer, squadron leader Anthony Davis, was already airborne flying a Venom. It was his alert squadron number 23, so he was ordered to divert towards Lakenheath to investigate what the hell they were seeing on radar. Freddie Wimbledon said later on, he always talked about this case later on because it was so mind-blowing to him. After being vectored onto the tail of the object by the interception controller, the pilot called contact. Then, a short time later, the pilot said Judy, which meant that the navigator had it fairly and squarely on his own radar screen and did not need help from people on the ground. That's important. Now planes are seeing this thing on their own radar screens without help from air traffic controller. After a few seconds, in the space of one sweep of our screens, the object appeared behind our own fighter, and our pilot called lost contact, more help. He was told that the object was now behind them, and that's when Freddie scrambled a second Venom, which was vectored towards that area. So in an instant, literally in 1 second, the sweep of his radar screen, it went from miles in front of the Venom jet, fighter plane, to immediately behind him. So they scrambled another Venom fighter from Royal Air Force Base Water Beach near Cambridge, but shortly after takeoff, that plane lost one of its wing fuel tanks, which crashed into a field in the outskirts of the city, so that plane was forced to turn back. So they had to get 2 U.S. Air Force T-33 jets on a training exercise to then come and help them search for this UFO, which they were still seeing on the radar screen at Royal Air Force Base Bentwater. So to put it in a nutshell, multiple Royal Air Force bases are seeing these things on radar. The plane that they scrambled after it was seeing this thing on radar, then it was immediately behind them. They said that one of the pilots, Chuck Metz, who spoke in 2002 about it, told us that he was convinced they were caused by strange weather conditions. And this is what skeptics immediately glommed onto, that one sentence. But people have said that the UFOs, that these pilots were chasing planets or stars, and the radar blips were meteorites and all this other absolute nonsense, that the UFOs were just that. Meteorites, planes, planets, stars, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Because Freddie Wimbledon says the blip that had disappeared before the second Venom was able to carry out at interception. He said it appeared to give up the chase, as though it had achieved its objective behind the plane, followed the plane for a little bit to see what was going on, what this plane was scrambled for, and then the UFO, quote, melted. Freddie remained adamant for the rest of his life that the UFO echo was strong and clear. And what that means is this is not a weather condition, not a weather balloon, not a star, not a planet, not a meteorite. Meteorites don't travel at the distance and the directions and stop in midair. It just doesn't happen. He said it was similar in size to a fighter aircraft, but capable of, quote, terrific acceleration and apparently stopping without slowing down. Behavior impossible for any known aircraft in 1956. Kurt here, impossible for any known aircraft except for Tic Tacs today. Evidence is also supported by testimony from a number of other credible witnesses that night, including senior military officers, air crew, radar personnel, pilots. Radar expert Gordon Thayer of Colorado Project commented, the apparently rational, intelligent behavior of the UFO suggests a mechanical device of unknown origin as the most probable explanation of this sighting. That's the Condon Report's final report about this instance. A mechanical device, not a star, not a planet, not a meteorite, none of that. A unknown mechanical device. I'll keep going for a little bit. Forrest Perkins, U.S. Air Force team at Lakenheath, who were listening to the transmissions, were waiting for orders in the crew room at Water Beach. During that action after midnight, a crowd had gathered around a radio receiver tuned to the frequencies and listening to what these pilots and air traffic controllers were saying. He said we could hear the various voices and recognize the distinctive voices of the individuals. The first crew made radar contact and closed rapidly on the target. They tracked it down to within about 3 miles and then lost contact. They were called off. The second crew instructed to make an intercept. They also reported radar contact about 10 miles directly ahead. The navigator called off the distance as the target rapidly closed. At 1 mile, there was a shout of confusion from the pilot who had seen nothing, when then heard, I think they are now on our tail. Not done yet for this story. It wasn't just one encounter. Lakenheath's radars continued to spot UFOs all through the night, from the 13th of August through the 14th of August. Later in the night, more UFOs appeared on Lakenheath's radars, and fresh orders to the Royal Air Force to scramble yet another wave of those Venom planes. Navigators John Brady and Ivan Logan, who operated the Venom's radar, along with their pilots David Chambers and Ian Fraser Kerr, recalled the incident because in all the years' service, it was the only occasion they had been ordered to intercept a target at such a low altitude over land. They said if any enemy aircraft had penetrated the UK's radar shield to reach the mainland, it was already too late for them, for the UK. It was going to be the end of the UK. He manned the radar and scrambled at 2 a.m., and once airborne, the men were asked to contact the U.S. Air Force at Lakenheath, who would direct them towards the UFO. By this stage, the target could not be detected because it was below radar horizon. So again, planets, meteorites, none of those go below radar horizon and still keep flying. They said the U.S. Air Force were directing us towards this thing at around 7,000 feet. The first run I saw nothing. The next time we turned into a reciprocal heading, and I obtained a contact which I held 10 to 15 degrees off dead ahead and noticed that it raced down the tube at high speeds. We were flying at 350 to 400 miles per hour. I remember saying to David, contact, there. It's out 45 starboard now at 1 mile. And he kept saying, where is it? Where is it? I can't see it. We rushed past it, and it could go down the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the plane. 2 further runs were made with the same results. Whatever it was stationary 7,000 feet. And we couldn't find it. But the radar contact was firm. There was something there. That's incredible. There was something at 7,000 feet, stationary, in 1956. Nothing was available at that time that could do that. Shortly after the incident, there was a secret cable was sent to the U.S. Air Force headquarters, warning of, quote, considerable interest and concern at the sightings, demanding an immediate inquiry. The cable asked if the sightings were linked to a similar scare reported by a British radar station on the Danish island of Bornholm in the Baltic a week earlier. and there were fears that the UFOs were in fact guided missiles launched by the Soviets. The British government, unfortunately, maintained that all papers on UFO incidents before 1962 were routinely destroyed many years ago, so there is nothing left from the British government, unfortunately. Ralph Noyes, who served as a senior official in the Air Force Ministry, or the Air Ministry at the time of the incident, said back in 1988, he said, "Here we had a number of objects seen coming in across the North Sea on coastal radar. It looked like a Russian mistake. Jet aircraft were scrambled. The objects were traveling at quite impossible speeds, like 4,000 to 5,000 miles per hour, and then they came to an abrupt halt near one of these stations not very high up. We experienced pilots going out of their minds. Were people having fantasies? No. We had to investigate these cases. Over the years, we still to this day have no public statements about them and no explanations." So, yeah, I will say that has a ton of credible eyewitnesses, both on the ground and in the air, that had personal experiences with UFOs that to this day cannot be explained away, no matter how hard skeptics try with dumb things like meteorites and planets. And again, yeah, the U-2 spy plane did fly from Lakenheath in the summer of 1956 at the time of the UFO incident, but it could not maneuver how the UFOs did. It could not just stop in midair. Could it explain some of the weird radar contacts way high up? Sure, but not stopping. It did not stop in midair. So again, another great example, in my opinion, of a UFO incident that holds up to scrutiny and leaves experts baffled to this day. But let's keep going. But I got to drink more of my UFO cocktail because it's starting to melt. The ice, that is starting to melt. So let's keep going. Let me sidestep to my personal favorite, Jackie Gleason. See, I told you I'd be talking about him later in the show, and that time is now. Again, I talked about this one forever ago and his house forever ago in a very, very early episode. But since most of you forgot, here it is again. I'm amazed how many people sent me the Jackie Gleason UFO house announcement. And they're like, "Did you know about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I talked about this in like episode 9 or something." I mean, it was forever ago, so I don't blame you. I have been so interested in that house, like I said, for decades. That house is a dream house of mine that I never thought would be available on the market again. I told a couple of people that I know that if I had won the Powerball this week, that last week when it was like 1.8 billion or whatever, the very first thing I would do was to buy that Jackie Gleason UFO house. That house, above all other houses I can think of off the top of my head, Paul Rubin's house would have been a close second. But that house, yeah, I would love to, if I can't own it, I'd love to spend a night in it. I'd love to just go in it, walk through it, because, again, it's been a dream house of mine for decades. But I'm here to talk about Jackie Gleason, so let's do it. Jackie Gleason's second wife, Beverly, told a very strange story that she swore was true. It happened the evening of February 19th, 1973. She wrote an unpublished book on their marriage to Jackie Gleason when they got divorced. That on February 19th, 1973, Jackie Gleason returned to their Florida home shaken up. At first, he refused to tell her why he was so upset, what freaked him out, but finally confided in her that earlier in that day, his friend, President Richard Nixon, had arranged for him to fly from Miami, where they were golfing, to visit Homestead Air Force Base, which is also in Florida, and there, Nixon personally took him to a hangar and showed him 4 tanks or containers or something with 4 dead alien bodies in them. Now, let me sidestep that Jackie Gleason was huge into UFOs, and I mean huge. His like 14,000 book library and manuscripts and evidence library was given to some Florida library when he passed away. But, I mean, this guy, Jackie Gleason, huge into UFOs and aliens. He was the biggest celebrity at that time into UFOs. Without a doubt. He said, Jackie Gleason, according to her, Jackie Gleason said, they show up to Homestead Air Force Base in Florida. Upon his arrival, armed guards took Jackie Gleason and Nixon to a building at a remote location on the Air Force Base. There, Jackie Gleason saw the embalmed bodies of 4 alien beings. 2 feet long, with small bald heads and big ears. I don't personally think he said it was 2 feet long, but that's the story that I can find the most evidence to, so I'm just relaying that. He was told nothing about the circumstances of the recovery. Again, I don't believe that. There are a lot of experts, UFO experts, that say he was told these were the Roswell bodies. Jackie Gleason swore his wife to secrecy, but after their divorce, she was like, fuck this, it's a great story, I'm going to sell it. And she did. Again, I get that Jackie Gleason was arguably one of the biggest stars in the world, even in the 70s. But would Nixon show him dead aliens, even though they were friends? It is a fact. Jackie Gleason, huge into UFOs. Jackie Gleason, insanely rich and wealthy in the 70s. Jackie Gleason, friends with Nixon. All of that is 100% true. You cannot dispute it, skeptics. That is 100% true. But why would Nixon show Jackie Gleason dead alien bodies, even if they're friends? Why risk that? Well, here's where the grain of salt stuff comes in. Author Jim Harold thinks he knows why, and it is equally as weird. Me, personally, Kurt here, I personally think Nixon did it because he could. Maybe they made a bet while golfing or something, but I think that it was just that Nixon could show off to his most famous friend, like, boom, look at this, buddy, aliens. I think that's just Nixon in a nutshell. He was so thinking he was above the law and could do whatever he wanted that he just showed Jackie Gleason aliens. Now, there are a lot of reports that during the 60s and 70s, 4 dead alien bodies, again, personally, I think they were the Roswell aliens, were shown to people in the government and the military sort of regularly. They didn't think it was that big of a deal until the Roswell story started taking off again, and then it was really kind of shut down. And they were then sent to wherever, Wright-Patterson or Area 51 or Groom Lake or wherever those aliens were sent, and since then had not been sent around, you know. But let's hear Jim Harold's reason. Jim Harold says that Jackie Gleason made up to $14 million a year. That was a huge amount of the money in the 50s, in the 60s, and hell, even in the 70s. Huge amount. $14 million a year. If you read up about that UFO house that I'm so in love with and how he bought it, Jackie Gleason bought an entire marble quarry just for the house so he could have all of the marble in the house matching. So he bought an entire quarry just for his house. Or how he made, I think it was CBS, but how he made a network pay for the house. Pay for one of the most beautiful houses, in my opinion, in the world. Jackie Gleason had money and he had power. But, well, no, actually not even but. This next part is also true, and this is a reason that Jim Harold thinks, but it is true. Jackie Gleason offered publicly on TV and radio shows to pay $1 million if anyone could show him proof, hard proof, of extraterrestrials visiting Earth. So, Jim Harold says because of that public offer for $1 million, Jim Harold says, this is exactly the time of Nixon's Watergate burglars. They were caught in the Democratic National Headquarters. They were taken to jail and facing trial. Apparently, those burglars, Nixon's people, wanted at least $1 million in hush money to keep quiet, to pay their attorneys and all of their daily fees. He says they were in prison. And according to Jim Harold, Nixon is heard in January of 1973 on tape saying, "Where are we going to get this money? I need hush money." Cut to just weeks after the Jackie Gleason UFO encounter in March of 1973, Nixon, calm as he can be, on tape says, "Oh, that's not a problem. I know where we can get that. We've got that," talking about $1 million. So Jim Harold says Nixon took donations under the table, off the books. That's all on record. We all know that's true. Nixon and Gleason shared the same lawyer named Herb Kalmbach. I looked it up. That's true. Herb Kalmbach went to jail for distributing large amounts of money to Watergate burglars. That's true. He went to jail for obstruction of justice. And that's one of the things that caught Nixon in many, legal issues. And so he had to resign in August 1974. So a lot of what Jim Harold is saying is true. And it's not that huge of a leap to say Nixon showed Jackie Gleason the dead alien bodies for $1 million. For that $1 million prize. It's not that big of a leap, to be honest with you. I can kind of get behind what this guy is saying. This author is saying. It's crazy, but Jim Harold says it in his book. A lot of the facts, I was like, nah, there's no way that there's a guy named Herb Kalmbach who was the lawyer for both. Oh, no, that's true, too. I mean, literally everything he was saying, I would look it up and go, well, crap, that's true, too. So he thinks that's why Jackie Gleason was shown the 4 dead, Kurt here, in my opinion only, Roswell dead alien bodies. Again, Jackie Gleason, obsessed with UFOs and aliens. His house was designed to look like a UFO. That isn't a guess. Jackie Gleason said it numerous times. He called the main house his mothership and the guest house the scout ship. These aren't guesses. This isn't like grain of salt stuff. It's crazy. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole about Nixon and Jackie Gleason. Did they golf together on that day? Yep, they sure did. I found Nixon's schedule from that day. You can find it. It's part of the Nixon library, except for the parts that are still classified. That, spoiler, there's parts that are still classified. So let me read to you Nixon's schedule, not all of it, because we're running really late on time, but I don't care. I'm having a good time. Here's Nixon's schedule from that day, from February 19th. I got to scroll down to it. Give me 1 second. That's the 16th. Scrolling down, that's the 17th. Scrolling down, that's the 18th. That's the 18th. Boom, the 19th. I'm going to skip ahead to the good stuff. President attending a meeting of the Executive Council, blah, blah, blah. President returned to his motorcade. He went to the beach. But here we go. From 11:53 to 12:10 p.m., President flew by helicopter from Hallover Beach, Bal Harbor, to the Inverary Golf and Country Club in Lauderhill, Florida, for a list of passengers. See Appendix A. No big deal. Let's keep going. The president was greeted by entertainer Jackie Gleason. Boom. That meeting happened. The president and Mr. Gleason motored by golf cart from the helipad to the 18th green of the golf course. The president was introduced by Jackie Gleason. The president addressed guests attending the 1973 Jackie Gleason's Inverary National Airlines Golf Classic. For a list of celebrities attending the tournament, see Appendix C. The president and Mr. Gleason motored from the 18th green to the helipad. En route, the president met briefly with members of the press. The president flew by helicopter from Inverary Golf and Country Club to the Key Blackane compound. For a list of passengers, see Appendix A. The president went to 516 Bay Lane. President taped an auto message on the American economy. President had lunch. Blah, blah, blah. Met with this person, this secretary, this press secretary, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep going. Boom. Here we go. After 8:37 p.m., item removed from this folder. A restricted document or case file has been removed from this file folder. For a description of this item removed and the reason for its removal, consult document entry 6 on the document withdrawal. So I looked that up. He flew somewhere with someone, and we don't know where. But get this. I wanted to find out, did Nixon fly to Homestead? Is there public proof that Nixon flew to Homestead? And there is. Again, the Nixon private library, Nixon library shows his documents, his attendance, his schedule. And on February 17th, Nixon flew to Homestead, and there is proof. So many wonder, was that when Gleason was really shown the aliens? And maybe his wife misremembered. I don't know. It doesn't show who was flying when he went to Homestead, who was on the helicopter when he went to Homestead. It's taken out of, it's private now, it's classified as well. It's removed from this folder. There's a couple of things that are restricted documents that are removed from the folder. Who was on the helicopter? Where did they go? That kind of a thing. But February 17th, Nixon did go to Homestead. That's only 2 days away from the date that his wife said he was shown alien bodies by Nixon at Homestead for whatever reason. Crazy cool. Is that enough for you guys to believe? It's proof. Nixon was there. He was in Florida. He went to Homestead. He did meet with Gleason. Is that enough proof? Let's keep going. Let's go over to, let's continue on. Let's go over to Alaska in November of 1986. Captain Kenju Torachi and the crew of Japan Air Flight 1628, in my opinion, one of the best UFO encounters ever. Again, I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but multiple unidentified craft confirmed by radar shadowed their Boeing 747 for not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, not 30 minutes, but nearly 50 minutes. Captain Torachi and his crew observed two glowing objects pacing their aircraft, followed by what he called a mothership, estimated to be 2 to 3 times the size of an aircraft carrier. He was an experienced pilot. Anchorage air traffic control radar and onboard radar on the plane both detected anomalies matching the crew's descriptions. NORAD confirmed no military flights in the area at that time. It goes on, man. The UFOs showed impossible flight characteristics. They were 2,000 feet below, then boom, suddenly up and in front of them, then sudden stops, rapid acceleration, hovering in place, all while maintaining proximity to the jumbo jet. The captain was authorized to take evasive action, including a 5,000-foot dive, and the objects, the UFOs, kept pace easily. Torachi said the lights were very bright. He could feel the heat from the cockpit. In later interviews, he described the objects as having no inertia or gravity, quickly changing speeds and zooming off into the distance when they reached clouds. Later on, about 10 to 15 minutes later on, another object was seen on his left out of the co-pilot's view, except according to him, this object was alone and again was the mothership the size of 2 aircraft carriers. That's huge. Look up how big an aircraft carrier is. It's huge. At the time, the reports were buried. That was the end of it. Captain Torachi was grounded. The FAA investigation was confiscated by the CIA. That enough should be a, wait, what? Why? I get them grounding the pilot. He saw a UFO at that time. It was, persona non grata. You got to ground them. I get that the FAA investigated it, sure. But why was it confiscated by the CIA? Well, I'll get to that. FAA investigator John Callahan testified that after assembling radar tapes, audio recordings, and crew interviews, he was summoned to a classified meeting with the CIA, the FBI, and White House officials. After the briefing, the CIA agents reportedly told the room, "This event never happened, and all materials were seized. All materials seized. Again, Captain Terauchi was removed from flight duty, reassigned to a desk job because he talked to the Japanese media about the encounter, and at that time it was a huge stigma. He was later labeled, quote, a UFO repeater in classified U.S. documents in internal FAA memos, which was a tactic often used to discredit witnesses. Again, something that George Knapp just talked about this week with Arrow. Then, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, over 1,500 declassified pages were released about this instance. It confirmed extensive radar evidence, internal FAA concerns, audio recordings, transcripts from that night, files kept on the pilot after the incident. That's not something the FAA did. If you were grounded, that's the end of it. They didn't keep files on you after you were grounded. Again, skeptics, you tell me. Later on, he was touted as a UFO zealot, that he loved UFOs, and he made it all up so he could be part of the UFO community, or he was having delusions of grandeur, or he was making it up, or you know, like fucking going insane, basically, because he was so into UFOs. None of that was in any of those 1,500 declassified pages that were released by the Freedom of Information Act. That was used later on to discredit him so people would not believe this story. I don't know. That's a good one in my opinion, but it's not for me to decide. I want you guys to describe. Let's move on to a very controversial person in this, on the topic of UFOs, Bob Lazar. Nope. There we go. Bob Lazar. Again, I've talked about him numerous times in previous episodes. I'm not going to go too deep into him. Don't worry. Don't skip ahead. What he said has been proven true again and again and again. From the tech he saw at Area 51 to Area 51 itself, to the way that UFOs flew compared to the Tic Tacs and the gimbal footage today. Bob Lazar keeps getting discredited by skeptics, and I don't see how. What he said in 1989, none of that stuff was public knowledge. The shape of Area 51, the locations of the hangar, the shape of the UFOs, again, how UFOs fly, the handprint scanner, none of it was knowledge, was public knowledge. And he talked about it in 1989. And slowly but surely, through the years, everything he said back then has been proven right or shown to be accurate in these congressional hearings. Yet people still discredit him, and I don't get why. Next piece of evidence. Let's keep on keeping on. This comes from two different parts of the world, both with roughly the same stories. Two schools where school children saw a UFO land and an alien was there, and the kids watched them for extended periods of time. I'm talking about the Ariel School in Rua, Zimbabwe, where 62 children, ages running from 6 to 12 years old, said they saw one or more silver UFOs descend from the sky, land on a field near the school. Some of the students claimed that one or more of the aliens were dressed in all black, then approached and telepathically communicated to them a message with an environmental theme, which obviously frightened them and causing them to cry. Sure, I would probably cry, and I'm not 6 to 12 years old. This happened at 10 a.m. on September 16th, 1994. The incident lasted for 15 minutes. First, after the kids came back in and said, hey, teachers and staff, this is what just happened. UFOs, aliens, talked about the environment, blah, blah, blah. I'm scared. I'm crying. They were like, nope, that didn't happen. Go back to school, or go back to your schoolwork, blah, blah, blah. The kids went home, told their parents about it, and that's when the parents started calling school saying, what in the hell is my kid talking about? And the school did an inquiry, interviewing students individually to ask them what happened and to draw it. And guess what? They were all essentially the same. Everything these school kids said from 6 to 12 were all essentially the same thing. Then we go over to Westall High School in Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia. On April 6th, 1966, students and teachers from Westall saw a UFO. It was described as round with a dome top and white gray, or silver in color, depending where the kids were that saw it. So based on how the sun was hitting it, basically. According to the students, the UFO descended behind a row of trees and into the Grange, which is an open area south of school. They said that the UFO was being pursued by 5 unknown aircraft, military craft, basically. Sean Matthews was on vacation at the Grange and reported seeing an object with a slight purple hue and about twice the size of a family car. Some of the kids reported seeing the object take off after landing. Some reported seeing it hover rather than land. When students walked to the Grange after school, after their sighting, they saw a landing site, basically a circle of grass that was burnt, boiled, or pressed down, again, depending on which student you talk about. Just like the one in Zimbabwe, the kids went home, told their parents. Their parents are like, what the hell are you talking about? Told the school. They did an interview individually with the kids, asked to draw pictures. On April 9th, 1966, Air Force personnel and UFO enthusiasts visited the field, but they reported nothing of interest. Then get this. The landowner actually burned the Grange, the field, to discourage people from entering the property. So there you have 2 schools pretty far apart geographically and in time, like, 30 years, 1966 to what was the other one? 1994. So, yeah, about 30 years apart. So 2 schools geographically apart, in time apart, both have numerous witnesses, both had people individually interview the kids and ask to draw pictures, and both essentially the same drawings by the witnesses. Now, I say essentially because, Kurt here, some of those kids cannot draw. I mean, those kids should have been held back. You call that a UFO, Liam? Fail. How come the alien looks the same as your drawing of your mom, Nigel? Fail. What I'm saying is I would not be a good teacher. Look, everybody, this is what Susie said she drew. It looks like a lampshade with a nipple on top of it floating above a field. Fail. But hey, at least they saw aliens for an extended period of time, so they're better than me. You know what I'm saying? Look, the point is, you don't want to believe adults? Okay. But kids? Sure, kids make up a lot of shit. You know, I got kids that say that, all lizards can read or whatever, But, like, I get the kids lie a lot. But when you separate all the kids who haven't had time to come up with their story, you separate them all, and they all tell the same story, and they all draw the same thing, I'm saying that event happened. But again, not for me to decide. It is for you to decide. So let's keep on keeping on. Let's jump to the Phoenix Lights. That's right, thousands of witnesses. Even Kurt Russell saw them from his plane. Again, still no good explanation. They even tried to say it was a flare military exercise. Nope, that does not explain the lights at all. It was massive, like a football field size. Silent, but obviously solid between the lights. Kurt here, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know what the Phoenix Lights are, right? We're getting late into this episode. I'm going to do a real brief recap. March 13th, 1997. Thousands of people in Arizona and the surrounding areas saw a large V-shaped formation of lights in the night sky. The BS U.S. government explanation was Operation Snowbird, a pilot training operation that operated in the winter by the Air National Guard out of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. But it does not explain the lights at all. They weren't flares. You can watch the videos. Flares don't do that. It's huge. It's known about. There's tons of YouTube videos and things about it. I did a full episode about it. Does that help you, skeptics? I don't know. Does this make this episode worse for you, skeptics? I don't know. That's for you to decide. So, since that's a hugely well-known one, and we're already an hour and 40-something minutes into this episode, let's move on to Gary McKinnon? Who? Well, back in 2001 and 2002, Gary McKinnon hacked into NASA's website looking for free energy proof and proof of UFOs. And guess what? He found it. He said he saw images of what looked like extraterrestrial spaceships. He wanted to find the non-airbrushed NASA files because around that time online, word really started to spread about a NASA photographic expert that said there was a building. It was called Building 8 at Johnson Space Center. And he said online, this was where they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from high-resolution satellite imaging. So Gary hacks into NASA, the website, and logs into the NASA website, and he was able to access this department. He said they had huge, high-resolution images stored in their picture files. They had filtered and unfiltered, or processed and unprocessed files. What that means is, there's the photo that shows the UFO. There's the photo where the UFO has been airbrushed out, either digitally or old school way. He said, I was able to briefly see one of these pictures. It was a silvery, cigar-shaped object with geodesic spheres on either side. There were no visible seams or riveting. There was no reference to the size of the object, and the picture was taken presumably by a satellite looking down on it. The object didn't look man-made or anything like what we have created. Because I was using a Java application, I could only get a screenshot of the picture. It did not go into my temporary internet files, unfortunately. At my crowning moment, someone at NASA discovered what I was doing, and I was disconnected. He said, I also got access to Excel spreadsheets. One was titled Non-Terrestrial Officers. Non-Terrestrial Officers. It contained names and ranks of U.S. Air Force personnel who are not registered anywhere else. That's freaking huge. An Excel spreadsheet from a locked, classified NASA website that says non-terrestrial officers, and it contained names and ranks of U.S. Air Force personnel who are not registered anywhere else. He said it also contained information about ship-to-ship transfers, but I've never seen the names of these ships notated anywhere else. So, because he got booted out, he did not have proof to share. He did get arrested. Eventually, the charges got dropped about 10 years later, but here's a guy who hacked in. It is proof. It is proven. He hacked in to a classified NASA website. There is no way that skeptics can say that didn't happen. That freaking happened. It was known. 10 years later, the charges were dropped. They were trying to get him taken from UK to the US. It was, his health was going down the tubes. Thankfully for them, he didn't have any of the evidence, so they kind of let it go after 10 years. But it is proof. It is proven. It is real. He hacked in to a classified NASA website. That is true. That has been proven. He says that's what he saw, but he has no proof because, again, back in 2002, you guys remember, if you were trying to, download a picture of a boob, yeah, it took a little time. These are huge files of photos. So even longer than it took to download a picture of a boob back in 2002. All righty, let's jump ahead to the next most famous one on this episode. It's one I talked about briefly. It's the Nimitz UFO encounter, the Tic Tac incident. November 14th, 2004, you all know about it. U.S. Navy pilots and radar operators on the USS Nimitz encountered the Tic Tac, that really famous footage. It's actually on the back of all of my Paranormal Almanac business cards. They saw it off the coast of Southern California. I actually talked to somebody who I personally know on an episode, I think it might have been the 200th episode, who was there, who saw it. This is not, I guess it is secondhand because he saw it, but it's firsthand. He was the one who was there. He saw it. He was telling me it. This is somebody I trust implicitly, somebody I trust with my life. He was there. He saw it. It happened. You all know the footage of the encounter. I'm going to skip ahead to a lot of it. That same kind of footage around that same time, wasn't released until 2017, talks about the FLIR, the gimbal, the Go Fast. All of these, in my opinion, and my opinion only, are evidence, 100% evidence of UFOs. And if you remember from the beginning of this one, they talked about it saying, these are not of the U.S. We shot at one. We shot at one. They don't shoot at U.S. spy planes because we know what U.S. spy planes are. Let's skip ahead. Let's really briefly talk about some of the other, in my opinion, credible evidence for UFOs. The Pentagon UAP Task Force. This is the group that was established by the U.S. government to understand the nature and origin of UAPs. The fact that they even created this group shows credibility about this topic, that the government does not know what they are. They are not U.S. spy planes. They are not drones from China or from Russia. Then let's talk about the 2020 Pentagon UFO report. In June 2021, U.S. government released a report on UFOs stating out of 144 sightings from 2004 to 2021, 143 remained unexplained. Let me read that again. Out of 144 sightings that they investigated, out of 144, 143 remain unexplained. You can talk about the Fermi paradox, the Drake equation. Fermi paradox says, given the high probability of extraterrestrial life, there have to be aliens. It's just a numbers game for planets and stars and galaxies and blah, blah, blah. The Drake equation says that the estimate of number of active, communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy alone has to be high, has to be thousands and thousands of. Let's talk about SETI, which is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. That's been listening to signals from outer space for decades. That's where the WOW signal came from in 1977. Let's talk about biosignatures on other planets, including Mars this week. A biosignature means there was or is life on the planet, like in Venus, the Venus atmosphere, discover of potentially habitable exoplanets. The fact that Mars has rocks that show that something burrowed their way through these rocks. These biosignatures are extraterrestrial life. Sure, they're not aliens that look like E.T. or the gray aliens from Contact or whatever, or Communion or whatever, but extraterrestrial life nonetheless. We've got videos from the Pentagon that acknowledge that there is something non-human intelligence is what they kept calling it, non-human intelligence and recovered non-human made materials. That doesn't mean meteorites. That means something that has built technology, and we've recovered it. We have former astronauts that have talked about, yes, aliens were real. We saw them out in space on our missions. We got military advisors and countless government eyewitnesses, and I mean countless. And we keep hearing more and more and more. And then we have congressional hearings. Hey, we're back to where we started in this episode. The big ones from the congressional hearings for me are 2023 retired Rear Admiral Tim, I always say his name wrong, Gallaudet, was interviewed by Ross, somebody on News Nation, and he said, here are the important bits. Here's what he said. We're being visited by non-human intelligence with technology we don't understand. Again, retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet says, we're being visited by non-human intelligence with technology we don't understand. He also said, this is technology we're still trying to learn about, and it could give us an advantage in any military conflict. So that's a good reason to not disclose the nature of this technology. He also said, we don't want to release and disclose all of the technology we've discovered. We've already discovered. He said, I think it's about time that we do disclose we are in contact with non-human intelligence. That's what needs to be out there in the public. When he was talking about UAPs, he says this is a safety issue. And he also said, so what you have going on right now, again, legacy classified programs, special access programs without congressional direction and without White House policy, i.e., above the president, And he said that's not going to change. So when you say, well, how come presidents don't come out and say aliens are real? Well, Obama's already said it. Clinton said it. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Trump said he's even trying to get to the bottom of it. But right here, retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, whatever, said, without White House policy, i.e., above the president. Then you've got the Congressional Hearing Report findings from like 3 or 4 years ago, when they said that there are 140 plus recorded incidents of UAPs from 2004 to 2021. The vast majorities are not sensory errors and believed to be actual objects in the sky. 18 of these incidents appeared to demonstrate advanced technologies and what they show unusual characteristics and maneuvers, including staying stationary against the wind, moving against the wind, moving at considerable speed, no discernible means of propulsion, and in a small number of these cases, military detected radio frequency energy from the UAPs. They said that there are 11 reported incidents of pilots having near collisions with UAPs that was released to the public. It went on to say, we currently lack data to indicate any UAP are part of a foreign collection program or indicative of major technological advancements by a potential adversary. Basically, no evidence this is from another government. Skeptics love to say, we don't know, it's probably China, it's probably Russia, it's probably Japan, it's probably Korea. No. There is no evidence to suggest these Tic Tacs and gimbals and Go Fast and whatevers, the one that just took a Hellfire missile, are from another government. They said we would group such this is a good, I don't want to fuck this one up. I'm going to start that sentence over. This is such a good description of it from the way they worded it. We would group come on, Kurt. We would group such objects in this category pending scientific advances that allowed us to understand them better. What that means is we don't have the knowledge, the technological knowledge, the advancement in technology to even understand these scientific advances, to understand what these things could possibly be. And until we get that knowledge or advance enough technologically, we don't know what they are. That's insane right there. Then you got the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. As the name suggests, it's an act which makes the government be transparent to the public about UFOs, essentially, which, again, I already talked about it. I doubt the government will ever give us everything about UFOs or UAPs, but it's a start to take this subject seriously. Yes, I know many in the UFO community think this is false hope, and I get it. But there's a lot of people think it's all disinformation, but all we need is one honest person on that task force, and there is a chance they will slip up and reveal something they didn't mean to. So it could be good news. The Disclosure Project is a book with 400 testimonials from everyone from air traffic controllers to those responsible for launching nuclear missiles. I'm talking credible witnesses. They all talk about reverse engineered technology taken from captured or destroyed alien craft. That's right. They're talking about alien technology. Military officials testify to witnessing UFO activities above nuclear bases like I've talked about. Then we go to 2024 when they amended a proposal in the Disclosure Act for UAPs. I'm sorry, in the NDAA Act for UAPs. The 2024 NDAA signed into law in December 2023, requiring the creation of a UAP records collection at the National Archives and Records Administration. They added an amendment that uses the term non-human intelligence and anomalous craft reverse engineering. This is a government bill. They did not have to add in anything about non-human intelligence. They did not have to add anything about anomalous craft reverse engineering. What that means is aliens and UFOs, crashed UFOs that were reverse engineering. This is a bill that forces the private sector to give any and all crashed or reverse engineered extraterrestrial craft to the U.S. government. It was amended to a must-pass bill in 2024. That is insane. There is no reason to add an amendment to a must-pass bill that talks about non-human intelligence and anomalous craft reverse engineering. They're forcing private sectors to give up UFOs. The reason being is there's a lot of talk lately that private sectors are the ones that are going as fast as they can to recover crashed UFOs and then reverse engineering, and that's been happening for a while. So it's not just government to government, not this U.S. government to the China government racing to get to these crashed UFOs, but private sectors are doing it so they can reverse engineer UFOs and probably sell them to the government. That is insane. All right, my drink is just about empty. I could talk about the Navy tic-tac and gimbal footage. I've already talked about it enough as far as I'm concerned. I could talk about tons of credible eyewitnesses, pilots, peoples on the ships, 2 ships' radars, FLIR cameras. This alone should silence any skeptic in my mind. I could talk about the Freedom of Information Act that confirmed they have satellite footage of unexplainable white cylindrical craft from around that time. Let me repeat that. White cylindrical craft. Not planes, not drones, not anything any country has. Multiple high-ranking government officials, including admirals and even Obama, publicly stated there's stuff flying around our military that we don't know what it is or how it can do what it does. It is not foreign adversaries. We don't know what it is. So with that, with my drink empty, hold on. Yep, drink's empty. All right, with that, with everything I just said, and everything that I have said in probably, I don't know, let's say 80 to 90% of the 300 plus episodes I have done, you have to separate it yourself. You have to, figure it out. You have to go from your own bias against aliens and UFOs. Are they real? You have to separate yourself from the stigma. And all I ask is, listen to what I just said in this episode. What you're left with is tens of thousands of people that saw something. Or are you saying tens of thousands of people did not see what they said they saw? They did not experience what they said they experienced. Hi, Rum. How's my good girl? People from all walks of life. Are you saying that they're all mistaken? Cops, military, government, religious leaders, regular people, former skeptics, all did not see what they said they saw? After listening to everything I just said, everything I gave out, the facts, the data, the clear data, this isn't grain of salt entire episodes. This is an entire episode of almost all of it is not grain of salt. It is proven. It is, again, experienced people experienced in their fields, in the military, in the government, in other governments, all saying the same thing. They are saying these aren't China. These aren't Russia. They clearly are saying non-human intelligence, NHI, is popping up more and more in classified and declassified documents. That's non-human intelligence. That is not a meteorite. That is aliens. So again, take a moment. Listen to what is being said by governments, not just the U.S. government, all country governments. We have classified docs that Russia was involved in recovery of non-human crafts and materials. And they said the same thing our government said. Hi, Rum, I know, I'm almost done. I love you too. They said what our country said, that all countries are racing to reverse engineer UFOs. Again, I know there are a lot of fans that listen to the show that don't believe in UFOs. I hear from you. I get it. But all I ask is, hold on, jump down. I gotta kick on the music. All I ask is stop for a second. Listen to the evidence that I presented in this episode. Because again, that evidence It is piling up more and more and more and more. And every time I think that's got to be enough to convince everybody, my family, my friends that don't believe in UFOs, that still to this day don't believe in UFOs. And they still go, nah, I don't know. It's not necessarily what they meant. No, it's what they said. They clearly are saying non-human intelligence and non-human materials and crafts. So, does it change your mind? Did I change your mind at all? Let me know. Once again, I'm your host, Kurt Samek. This has been another episode of Paranormal Almanac. Season was UFO.